No international rugby this weekend. It's not going to be any international rugby for the next month. It's Vodacom United Rugby Championship time. Fantastic last week. 4 South African teams, 4 South African wins, 2 of them abroad. We'll quickly dash through those matches. Sharks, great first half, poor second half.
Yep.
Lions, unexpected, good win. And then at home, for me, I thought Stormers were outstanding against Connacht. And then the Bulls snuck it. Mornay staying again. How many times does he have to do it?
Save us.
Save us with a last-minute penalty. It could have gone the other way, and Edinburgh could have had a famous win at Loftus. Your impressions of that opening, those opening 4 matches?
Yeah, obviously fantastic to start the season with a clean slate of victories. I thought the Bulls did well to come away with the win there against Edinburgh. Edinburgh are quite a tricky team. Quite keen to see how the Stormers go with them this week. Obviously an encouraging start for the Stormers to get one past Connacht, who they had some difficulties with last season. The Lions winning overseas on their tour opener, absolutely fabulous against a team loaded with Welsh internationals. And then the Sharks making heavy weather of Zebra, but showing their firepower in that first half.
All right, Zebra, very interesting. Leinster went there. We're leading 28-3 and hung on 33-29. The Sharks, I think, 28-3 up. They hung on to win by 5 points, 42-37. Is it a case of early season blues for these teams? They get a big lead, they're underestimating Zebra, or is there an improvement in terms of Italian rugby?
No, you've got to think that the Italians are getting better, Mark, but definitely I think with teams that are seen as underdogs, there's always that thing where guys come out, score early tries, and then kind of take their foot off the gas. It seems to be prevalent in rugby. That's what happens. The Lions actually used to catch teams like that. They'd give spot teams a 20-point lead and then come back and destroy them.
Well, they had altitude. I think in Parma there's no such thing as altitude. If you look at the takeaways for you, Stormers, Connacht, bonus point win. What was the most positive signs from the DHL Stormers for you, Zels?
Yeah, finding a way to win with some youngsters. I mean, they've had quite a few disruptions there. Several players missing from the finals victory against the Bulls last season. Suleiman Hartzenberg making his Stormers debut, or one of his early games, and obviously performing very well, holding it down there at outside centre. The pack remained dominant despite the fact they didn't have those bocks there. And Diamani and Ruiz, just an imperious form. First touch of the ball, 60 metres, bashed off a test winger, scored in the corner like it was nothing. So, yeah, definitely powerful there.
And Evan Ruiz, I mean, this talk that comes out of the national squad, he's just not suited for this current Springbok side. He's maybe not suited for Test rugby. I think it's a lot of bullshit. What do you say?
Yeah, it's embarrassing actually now. It's reaching the point now where it's a bit embarrassing to pretend like this guy shouldn't be in the box setup. Is he the complete ultimate world-class number 8? Probably not, no. But I mean, he could add immense value there. We've got plenty of guys in that Bok pack who are hard grinding workhorse type guys, and Jasper Wiese fits that mold. What the Boks need there to sort of add a dimension to their attack is a guy who can actually run in space with speed and is a different kind of threat. And Ruiz can do that without being a finesse player who is a liability when things get tight in the trenches. He's still got firepower in that department. So it's a no-brainer to pick that guy, and it's silly not to do that.
And then you look at that performance from the Stormers. Andre Juchefence's try, spoke to Dobbo earlier in the week. He said after 18 rounds, it will still be in the highlights package. It was very similar to some of the fantastic attacking tries we saw from the Stormers last season. Again, to do that with the youngsters, 5 of that starting 15 started in the championship final against the Vodacom Bulls. So not have 10 of that title winning side, many away because of Bok call-ups. Some have left to go overseas, and some have been injured. I thought it was just an outstanding victory. Connacht, they've stumbled in their first 2 games. They traditionally have had a very good record in pro rugby and now United Rugby Championship against the South African teams.
Yeah.
A tough side. Dobbo in his column, Dobbo's diary spoke about it. It's equivalent of going and playing a very difficult Greekwood side in Kimberley. They play off the ball, they play you on the ball, they know the dark arts. So I think for his youngsters, it was a really good 80 minutes to kind of get under their belt, looking ahead. And they'll only announce their team closer to match day. But you'd expect a lot of the Springboks will come back into the mix. And that immediately will give this team a lift for what will be their first home game at the stadium where they won the title. We just hope that there's a half-decent crowd there. It's been slow with the crowds, not just in South Africa, but overseas.
Yeah.
Post the international kind of like...
the hangover.
Yeah, the hangover and the hoo-ha of having full-on international rugby for the last 2 months. But to get another win against a very good Edinburgh side will take them on the road with 2 wins. And to think that they would have done that first one without their Springboks, They will then have Springboks available for the 3 matches overseas.
Yeah.
It really does put them in good stead getting closer to December.
Yeah, spot on. Positive start to the season with some youngsters. Huge boots filled by Clayton Blommetjies in his first start for the Stormers. I thought he did exceptionally well. If he can keep that up, they may have found the solution there long term at fullback. He certainly sparked that attack. He was a key player in that try that you mentioned with Andre Hiko Fenta. And you add the Boks to that mix and they're back to the Imperious best. And I suppose the Stormers are going to have to think about playing quite a few games this season without those Springboks. And so to have the depth that they've built there is definitely sort of bodes well for the future.
Yeah, and I think, again, referring to what Dobbo said, was what pleased him the most was that the DNA of what they believe this team is about and the way they play
didn't change.
There was a continuation despite the personnel change. And particularly Blommetjies and Mani Lebok and the way they combined 15 playing off 10 and that strike power from the back. And when Blommetjies was signed, there was some critique around it. Why are you signing a 32-year-old fullback to come here? Why aren't you picking a youngster? And I think what's been encouraging and impressive about Dobbo's selections in the last 12 months, that he has gone like for like. He's known what kind of 10 he wants, what kind of 15 he wants, what kind of flanker he wants. And that's the kind of player they're contracting and the kind of player they're selecting. So there's a definite identity around the Stormers at the moment. And then, again, a side that just doesn't give up. To get the bonus point try in the 82nd minute, they did that 3 times last year. They did it in that final game against the Ospreys to basically win the South African conference. They got that incredible last extra time score in the quarterfinal and the semi-final against Ulster to give us that fabulous final a week later. And, I mean, that must be hugely pleasing for a coach to see these new kids taking on that mantle and continuing to play.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be part of the team culture there. That sort of cardiac kids come back at the end. They literally play to the 82nd minute, those guys, if that's how long the game goes. And that's a very difficult team to beat because they never lie down and go to sleep, which is what happened in Italy with the Sharks. So
yeah, then I see also Bundi Aki apparently has been apologising to his teammates all week for getting the red card. I think he should be apologising not to his teammates, but to one Stormers winner who's out of the game for 5 months, Siabela Senatla. I mean, he was only ever going to do him damage. Yeah. He was defenceless. He was an easy target and a shocking cleanup.
Yeah, and it's a pity to see Siabela. I mean, everyone had high hopes for him to continue to push for that Springbok place this season. Obviously part of the URC champions defending their title. And now he's missing from action. And that's a position where the Stormers, you know, if there was a lack of depth anywhere, you'd think wing is a place where they couldn't really afford to have any injuries. And it seems to be something that's hitting South Africa this season because we've obviously had the same thing at the Boks.
Yeah, I mean, and it's good news is that Keo and Zels is training again. I mean, he's a hell of a good player. So, you know, in adversity comes opportunity. So for whoever's going to slot in on Saturday, a great chance to kind of make an impression. You said 4 from 4 last week, so we're not going to argue with you. I said 3 from 4. Apologies to the Lions fans. I thought you'd take a pumping by 20 points. An incredible victory. A wonderful to see Gianni Lombard back on the field. 24 years old. Product of that wonderful Paul Boys High team that won 60 in a row under Shawnee Erasmus. He played at Flyth, where normally he'd be playing fullback and win. He's come back from 2 serious knee injuries. It looks like he'll be alternating with Jordan Hendricks as the number 10 and managing that workload. He starts again. Kicked well last week. But they also showed good ticket to win that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the Lions have sort of ignored the public sentiment towards them. And I keep mentioning Marius Lowe, but there really is a screw you kind of attitude about the Lions at the moment, which I like. They just got their heads down and concentrating on playing the best rugby that they can play, and they don't actually care about reputations of the guys that they're coming up against. And it's giving them a bit of a chip on their shoulder. They've got a bit of swag in the way that they play, and I think that's going to stand them in good stead. A lot of youngsters in that team, guys who have been written off in the press. And I think that's galvanised them, and they are going to be dangerous.
All right, if you look at the matches, the 4 South African matches we're going to focus on for this weekend, starting on Friday, it's the Bulls at home
to
against Connacht. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, you got to back the home team there. I'm not sure Connacht are necessarily at the same level they were last season when they surprised a few teams. Going to the Highveld, playing a Bulls team that got a bit of ring rust out last week against Edinburgh. I think they've caught them at the wrong time. Goosen back at 10 for the Bulls. you've got to think there's some magic in the tank there. So Connacht, I think, in for a bit of a tough day at the office.
Yeah, and I looked at that Bulls team, which just been announced, and you've got Kane and Moody back, you've got Curtly Orense back, as you said, Huissen goes to 10, you've got Marco van Stadenol, Eskom is back in the pack. I hope it goes well for him. He suffered with serious concussion issues at Leicester. And Ulrich Lowe, I mean, just Ulrich Lowe, Evan Riss, when I look at those two youngsters, you just want them in the national mix all the time. And I keep on saying it, I'm going to sound like a stuck record, but, you know, that is the future of our game when you look at those two kids. And then Marcel Coetzee, you know, just a wonderful back player. And so they look very powerful. And I tend to agree with you. Connacht is certainly not where they were a season ago.
Yeah.
Equally, Munster, and even though we don't play them at the moment, with Graham Roundtree, there's a reason he was being an assistant coach for 30 years. He's struggling. They've lost 2 matches that many would have thought they would have won on a trot. And even Leinster in that first one struggled a little bit. So all of a sudden, where there was just the Irish teams come in and they take charge of pro rugby and the United Rugby Championship in the first 2 months, and they set the scene for the year. That's really changed. I mean, it's all South Africa. People just talk in South Africa. The physicality of the South African teams. Our biggest challenge is going to come when we play in the Champions Cup and the European Challenge.
Exactly.
How do we manage those two squads? How do we manage playing a game effectively with our second tier side, because there's a big European game on that same weekend or the weekend after that. Looking at the games itself, this weekend you've got the Bulls to win. Then you've got Stormers?
Yeah, Stormers against Edinburgh. I think that's going to be pretty close. I'm not sure what the bookies have got on that, but I've got a feeling like the changes, we may see a little bit of a thriller there. Backing the Stormers to win it, but I think it's going to be close.
A tight one. And then obviously on Friday night, it's the Lions who are playing.
The Lions are in Cardiff to play in the Welsh capital.
Do they do it again?
2 on the trot on the tour. I mean, my heart says yes, my head says no. I'm going to say they just lose that one. Cardiff win.
Well, they've got 3 on the trot away from home if you take last season as well. So they could be on some streak.
That'd be fantastic.
And then the Sharks to complete the South African one Saturday night.
They've got a tricky one. They're playing the Dragons, and the Dragons just knocked over Munster, as you mentioned. So they've also got their work cut out for them. The way that they faded at the end there against Zebra is a little bit of a red flag for me. I'm going to say the Sharks don't beat the Dragons. As crazy as that sounds, I don't think they do it. I think the Dragons win that one.
So you got a 2 from 4 for the South African teams this weekend. I think a 3 from 4. Again, I'm sorry, guys. It's not out anything against the Lions. But I don't see them backing it up with another victory. But they are playing against a Welsh team. And my God, I mean, if you're ever going to beat anyone, it's the Welsh team. Unless you are Munster at the moment. So I've got them to go down. I've got the other South African teams to win. But I think the team that will be the most impressive this weekend will be the Vodacom Bulls. I agree with that. Thank you. We'll catch you next week after many more South African victories. And if you want to know what to bet on, go to the Money Man's page, his Facebook page, his Twitter account, close to the games. He'll tell you where he's putting his money, if he's putting any money down at all.